him and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not a actor. He is a I don't know what he is. He's a brand.
Wow, strong words from a clearly very bitter Hunter Biden. So during his interview on Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan, Hunter railed against pretty much everyone that he thought played any part in taking down his father during the 2024 election, including maybe even especially George Clooney. We're gonna hear a lot more from the former president's son first, but Cenk, what can our viewers expect? Because that was a rough start.
Oh, it gets way rougher. He's a runaway freight train, totally out of control. So he's gonna say a lot more crazy things. People are gonna fight back. We're gonna show you all that tape. And then Yaz and I will tell you what we think about this. And look, sometimes there's silver linings in this kind of out of control rage attacks. And then you accidentally reveal things that are true. And there were a couple of those within this rant. But overall, Hunter Biden is a mess. As my daughter would say, I don't want to spoil the beans for you, but this is not going to end well for Hunter.
Yeah, I think that's putting it nicely that this was a mess. So Hunter Biden, he is furious with a lot of people, but we're gonna start with George Clooney and then move on from there. George Clooney originally supported Joe Biden's bid for a second term and even headlined a record-setting fundraiser for the then president. But he changed course after Biden's disastrous debate performance against Trump in June 2024. I know you all remember that debate. He made his opinion known in a piece for the New York Times following the debate, calling on Biden to drop out of the race, which clearly hit a nerve with Hunter Biden. Here is more of his attack.
By the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. What do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president at a time in which, by the way, what do people care about the most? Why do you think that the Republicans have an advantage over us? Because they're unified. They will go along with anything. I wasn't asking anybody to go along with anything. I was asking people to go along with this. The most successful administration in my lifetime. And I'm including the Obama administration, I'm including the Reagan administration, I'm including every administration in my lifetime.
You know, one could argue that 52 years of service to your country is enough. Thank you, but that is enough. So Hunter also claimed that Clooney made up the story about Joe Biden not recognizing him at an event, and he accused him of haranguing White House staff because Biden criticized an ICC arrest warrant against Benjamin Netanyahu that Clooney's wife helped to craft. But Hunter's rage did not stop at George Clooney. He went after anyone who he thought undermined his dad in 2024. Let's see.
You know what George Clooney did? Because he sat down, I guess because he was like given a blessing by the Obama team or the Obama people and whoever else and David Axelrod and whoever the else is to go, okay, yeah, you know what? We are going to insert our judgment over yours. Me and James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of David Axelrod. And David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior speechwriters on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40-50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times, how to pass more legislation than any president in history.
Well, the Pod Save guys, they didn't take that attack lying down. They clapped back right away, telling Hunter Biden that he's not the victim that he thinks he is. Listen.
His big beef is that Republicans stick together and Democrats are united. But he's obsessed with this show, obsessed with George Clooney. They don't talk about Gaza. until 2 hours and 50 minutes into the interview. I'm guessing that was the bigger threat to party unity than a George Clooney op-ed. You know what I mean? It's just this sense of entitlement that like from Biden, from his family, from the inner circle, that he was like owed the presidency, owed a second term. It is just very grating. If I was in a room with him and able to talk rationally, I'd just be like, hey man, look around the world. Look at what's happening in this country right now. Like, I know you're angry personally, but you're not the victim here. We're all living with what happened in this election. And
you got a pardon. You're fine.
It's just, utter lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, they also responded on X. So Tommy Vitor said, it's good to see that Hunter has taken some time to process the election, look inward and hold himself accountable for how his family's insular, dare I say arrogant at times approach to politics led to this catastrophic outcome we're all now living with. And Jon Favreau just said, there goes my bid on that painting. So Cenk, I found all of this super irritating. I don't understand what Hunter Biden hopes to get out from any of this. I don't know if he's trying to go for that likability angle with like dropping all of his F-bombs and like criticizing George Clooney, who is like objectively one of the most likable humans on the planet right now, just like broadly speaking. I did find the way he was speaking to be just like egregious, the way he had like such a limited vocabulary, let's say. I felt a little bit childish to me. But of course, I found the content of what he had to say not only irritating, but disappointing, because as predictable as these political types tend to be, you always want to hold out a little bit of hope that some message is getting through somewhere to someone. And this kind of dispelled a lot of that for me. Whatever hope I had is just like, it's not happening. And I didn't actually include this in the story, but the New York Times recently published a piece, and the headline was something about the Democrats' autopsy of what went wrong in 2024 is actively avoiding the likeliest cause of death for, the reason as to why the Democrats lost the White House. So as the DNC is trying to figure out what happened, even though like we've told them until we were blue in the face time and time again, even during the campaign, what they were doing that we didn't like. So they're not looking into Biden's decision to run for re-election in the first place. They're not looking into the fact that he waited until after the primaries to drop out. And as far as the Harris campaign itself, they're not looking into a few different key decisions that were made, like framing the election as democracy versus fascism, and not addressing Trump after he attacked her on her stance on transgender rights. And if I recall correctly, and Tommy Vitor kind of touched on this in that clip we just showed, but there wasn't even a mention in the New York Times piece of the Biden or Harris campaign stance on Israel and Palestine, and the fact that so many Americans we know withheld their votes because of that one particular issue. And we know that that's true because they said it repeatedly. Like people were all over saying, I'm literally not going to vote for either of these candidates because of this. So all of this retroactive, like forensic investigations that the DNC is doing right now, they're just not getting it. And at this point, it seems as though they don't want to. They already told us that they're going to be chasing higher dollar corporate donors in future elections. So like, why would they care what the voters have to think? What do you think, Cenk?
Yeah, so I know why he's doing it, because no one's buying his modern art anymore. Because the modern art, let's be honest, were bribes, okay? Why were they bribing Hunter Biden? I don't know, just to make Papa feel good. I don't think they were getting anything from Joe Biden. We've gone over that 100 times. If they were, I'd be furious about it, but it doesn't look like it. But hey, your money dried up. Papa thought he was gonna get $300,000 a speech. He's getting no speech offers, because he can't speak. So now they're like, what the hell, man? After you retire from politics, you're supposed to get stinking rich, and I'm supposed to take all that money. But Hunter's running out of money. And now, like nobody's hiring him to be a Ukrainian gas expert anymore. And dad can't make any money, so he's in a rage. There's a part of me that really gets bothered by one part of this that no one else is talking about, which is he's making the other guys who realized in the 11th hour that Biden was not young and dynamic, he's making them look like heroes. Because he's like, no. Even after he like tried to eat his foot on a stage during the debate, like you should have stuck with him. And they're like, no. When his brain fell straight out of his ear, we were brave enough to notice it and slightly call it out, but not completely. We wanted to be respectful. And then a couple of months later, we were like, really? Okay. And now those guys are the heroes because Hunter Biden's out of his goddamn mind. Okay, so let's break down the answers to a couple of questions he asked. Who the hell does George Clooney think he is? He thinks he's Joe Biden's boss because he is. Wait, why? Why is Clooney Biden's boss? Because Biden has, in his entire career, what has he done? Listen to his donors. George Clooney's a giant donor. So when donors talk, servants like Joe Biden listen. So it was, and who took out Joe Biden? Do you think it was the other Democrats? You think it was Pelosi and Axelrod? I said, no, the donors took out Joe Biden because they realized too late, oh, we invested in a jalopy, okay? We need a more functioning corporate robot, okay? They're the ones who stopped giving money, that's why Biden left. But they could have written 1,000 strongly worded letters to Biden. He was never gonna listen because he's not even of the right mind. He's, if it's dementia or senile, whatever it is, his brain is not functioning. So he was never gonna say, oh yeah, I think you guys are right. No, he ran out of money because George Clooney is his boss. And of course he's a symbol. That it goes to answering another part of what Hunter Biden said. He's like, I mean, who gets elected to the Senate 7 times? What a historic career. I'll tell you who gets elected 7 times, the guy who puts a for sale sign on his policies. That's why Joe Biden used to be known as the senator from MBNA. That was a credit card company based in Delaware because everybody knew Joe Biden will do anything for a donor. Anything for a donor. He was named after a credit card company. That was his nickname. Okay, so that's how you get elected 7 times over. You say, oh, donors, I'll do anything, I'll do anything. And then when the donors turn on you, you can't then be like, oh, I'm so outraged. Brother, you were never in charge in the first place. Did you think you were in charge? No, the minute that you anger the donors, in this case it might have been legitimate, but the minute the donors are dissatisfied with you, off you go. You live by the donors, you die by the donors politically. Okay, and Hunter's just figuring this out. Maybe he didn't have time because he was studying Ukrainian gas so much. And then last one, Obama team. Who the hell do they think they are? Brother, Barack Obama anointed Joe Biden the president in the 2020 primaries in South Carolina. He called up everybody and said, after South Carolina, before Super Tuesday, okay, everybody shut up and endorse Biden. And they did. Buttigieg, Klobuchar, all of them bent the knee. They didn't bend the knee to Biden, they bent the knee to Obama. But after Obama hands you the presidency, then you turn around and go, no, why did you object? Just because my dad had dementia. Me and mommy had it figured out. Me and mommy were gonna do foreign policy and modern art. And Blinken was doing a great job of doing, I'm sorry, they're gonna do domestic policy. I don't wanna get it wrong. And Blinken was doing a great job of doing foreign policy on behalf of his clients at his firm, Israel and the others. Okay, so we had this on lockdown. Why did Obama change his mind? Now, Daddy, I want power back. I want money back. No one's buying my scribbles anymore. Okay, yeah, I know, Hunter, nobody is. So try to get a real job. I know that sounds like too much to ask of you, but there were 2 things that he revealed there that were interesting and true. Oh, so Anita Dunn made $40 to $50 million informally consulting Biden throughout. Okay, somebody's getting rich off that administration. Now, do you think you want Joe Biden to go, even if he has dementia, if you're A, his son, or B, someone making $40 to $50 million off of him? Okay, oops, he just revealed something interesting. Second thing is, in a clip we didn't show you, he said, the debate, he was tired. He went around the world 3 times. He's an old man, he's 81. He said, of course he's having trouble. Yeah, brother, but we're not, like somebody else said it, we're not asking you if, how's your dad gonna be in the nursing home? I think the Pod Save America guys might have said it. We're asking you, can he be president of the United States for the next 4 years? But in the midst of that rant, Hunter Biden said, and he took an Ambien because he needs to get to sleep. So how often did President Biden take an Ambien? And he took an Ambien, was it right before the debate? Or was it 12 hours before a debate? Does he usually take Ambien before he goes speaks publicly? So these are a lot of interesting questions in the only times where he accidentally told the truth.
Yeah, like there's so many moments in this interview that were very, very puzzling. But I'm also curious, who is this interview for? Like, who is lining up to hear what Hunter Biden has to say? The Republicans hate him. The Democrats would rather pretend he doesn't exist because at best he's been a headache. And again, putting it lightly, for the Democratic Party and for Biden's single term as president. Also, he's disparaging Obama. His dad would never have been president if it weren't for Obama. He's disparaging the guys from Pod Save America. They have more experience in government than he does. But the part that got me also was the part about acting like a man who has won his reelection in Congress so many times is worth listening to. And it was like, that was the part where I was just like, they really don't get it. Like, they really are just not listening. Like, my God, how many times we have to tell these people that we want fresh people with fresh ideas in our government. We want to vote some of these older people out, people who have been sitting, taking up seats in our House and our Senate. We have people like Nancy Pelosi running now for her, 21st term in office. Is that something that anyone is celebrating? Mitch McConnell, these people, their bodies are literally falling apart. And I'm not, happy about that, but I'm saying go home, like go home and rest and like just move aside so other people can come in. So it is very distressing that they are clearly just not listening to the people. And I don't know where we go from there.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.